All right, everyone. More and more Democrats are thinking about, committing political suicide as a party and trying to impeach Donald Trump. I don't think it's a good idea. The time to start those proceedings would have been back initially when his support was hovering around the mid to high 30s, and he was considered almost at lame duck status for several months. And you had the Mueller probe going on and stuff. That would have been the time to impeach. It's very funny to see the legacy media covering for the Dems right now. They're like, oh, well, slow walking impeachment is actually a good idea because, people get nervous. If you go in too hard, you can screw it up. I think it's screwed up anyway. The Democrats as a party don't have a platform or any real fundamental ideas for the country that don't involve more taxes or banning things. And it's like the only thing that they offer is impeachment. But Trump has a plethora of things that he's offering. We want border security. We want to renegotiate trade deals, do some diplomatic bullshit, and then lower taxes. Well, that's pretty fleshed out platform. It's kind of basic and rudimentary, but it's way more than the Democrats are giving us. Biden's platform is literally orange man bad, and he's the front runner of the Democrats and has been since before he got into the fucking race. The Democratic field is weak, and so here's what I think. I think that the more cerebrally advanced Democrats, the ones that deal with political strategy more than idealism, like the Pelosi's, and I'm not saying that she's maybe not demented, but she's a cunning individual. Those individuals right now are fixated on impeachment because they're not convinced that anyone in the 2020 field is actually capable of winning. They're hoping that Biden can shine himself up like a polished turd and sort of pass as a candidate, but ultimately I think they look at the field, they say, okay, what have we got here? No-name losers that have dropped off the face of the earth. People who would be viable that have made mistakes, like a Gillibrand. I think that would be their next choice if they were smart. And people who are far left. And then you have Joe Biden, a geriatric man with a Me Too problem. They're looking at that field and they're saying Trump has the incumbent advantage. He's coming off of decent economic news. He's a money president. Now, it's the money, stupid. He hasn't had any major foreign policy blunders, for the most part. Everything's seemingly calm. And his approval is middling. It's not great, but it's, at least survivable. He's in the mid-40s, between 43 and 46, depending on what day of the week it is. Trump wins by default in such a race. Biden's been spending a lot of time in the Rust Belt, but I think the Democrats are getting nervous. They're also realizing something else. Here's the other thing. Thought about this the other day. Look at what the Democrats campaigning have been doing. You remember Elizabeth Warren in her kitchen, making food, and she's like, oh, hand me a beer, and oh, how was your day? Talking to her husband. It looked forced. That is that the candidates are being required to do things like Trump style, which is embrace the internet era and campaign online as much as in real life. Most of them can't do that. Even the young ones like Beto O'Rourke getting a haircut. That was a real humdinger. Wow. It was so exciting. Beto is getting a haircut, so he can look less like a Gen X beach boy. Okay, wonderful. Does that make him presidential? No, not really. Trump's got the incumbent advantage. The incumbent always has a downhill battle getting reelected. There is a slight advantage given to them. It's like the 13 keys to the White House. One of them is there's an incumbent. Trump didn't even have that advantage and won the last time around. You could possibly put him into the category of being charismatic enough so that he ticks another box and gets to 7 right there at this point. All he needs is some foreign policy success or not to crash and burn the economy, and he probably gets reelected. His approval is going to rise the closer you get to the election day anyway, potentially. It's going to rise because he'll be fighting against a person instead of, a sort of amorphous blob of people. Right now, people are looking at the Dem field. If there's any Democrat that they kind of like more than Trump, they probably disapprove of Trump by default because they're judging them against that person that stands out. That person's probably not going to be the nominee. What happens to his approval then? It rises because now you've got only one Democrat representing the party. That person is likely to piss off a significant proportion even of Democratic constituents. Most people that vote in the primaries, at least in the early states, won't be voting for the person that ends up winning. That's just sort of the way that it is. You're going to have Biden probably winning with percentages that at some points will be in the 20s because the field is so crowded, especially in a place like New Hampshire. If he wins it all there, it'll be a squeaker over Sanders, and it'll only be because he has more viability and name recognition. I don't expect Biden, by the way, to win New Hampshire. I expect him to win Iowa, probably. go on to narrowly lose New Hampshire, knock Sanders out by Nevada, basically by getting 3 of the first 4 states. If it were held today, that's what I would expect. And then Sanders would bow out gracefully, having won only 1 of the first states. He'd be looking at Super Tuesday, he'd probably stick it in there, leave after Super Tuesday when it gets swept by Biden. That's probably what's going to happen. It's not certain. Biden could drop dead of a stroke tomorrow. Or he could do so poorly at the first debate that all of a sudden he falls to 3rd place or something. It's just not that likely. The Democrats are fixating on impeachment because they don't think that Joe Biden is capable of being the standard bearer of the party, and they think that they would rather him run against Pence. That's honestly, I think they would love to remove Trump from office. Or it's just a smokescreen. They're trying to keep him from getting reelected by having the talk of impeachment over his head. Perfectly viable option to explain the Democrats' behavior. But I think that the more intelligent Democrats, intelligent being a relative term in politics, I think the more intelligent Democrats at this point, they don't have faith in their field. I wouldn't either. Looking at them, the people that I would consider higher in viability are afterthoughts. Some of them are down below 1% in polls, like a Julian Castro, who sort of put himself out there as too far left. Or Gillibrand, who has, again, she has an Al Franken problem with some of the Clintonian members of her party. That's why she never built, really a coalition. We'll see what happens at the first couple of debates, and that's pretty much when we'll know. We're going to know by the polling after the first debate, more or less, what's going to happen in the Dem field. It's not actually that complex. Barring a freak of nature sort of thing. Biden gets struck by lightning, or he drops out inexplicably due to something that happens. Somebody else has a really shining keynote Obama-style moment at a debate or at a speech or something, really does something really good. That's pretty much the only thing that can change that metric. So the Democrats are afraid because they don't think Biden can win. I wouldn't be happy if he did, although he's more sane than some of the Democrats, which is saying quite a bit. I don't think that he's capable, though, not at his age. I don't think he can campaign hard enough to keep up with Trump. I think that Trump is old anyway. Again, no insult meant to people who are in that age demographic, but Trump is an over 70 individual. So it doesn't make sense. The Democrats are going to have another old white dude, and he's a dynastic politician as well from under Obama, be their standard bearer. I don't know how well that's going to work. So I guess impeachment starts to make a little bit more sense, or at least talk thereof. That's about all. Peace out.